What's going on, guys? Kyger here. Today we're going to talk about my PvP tier list for fairies in the month of June. Let's get into it. Alright guys, I was going to put this out last week, but I wanted to have some more testing with the new fairy, and this is what I came up with. It's already been posted on my Discord. Obviously pause it right now if you want. But jumping into the reasons, first at the top, as you see from left to right, all of them are holy, fire, water, wind, and earth. And all of them follow that same from left to right. It's not in order, so it's not like, oh, this earth one is better than this fire one, so the earth one's first. It's elemental in order. Now, starting with S tier for the holies, we have Sakura, Milim, and Hibiscus. Now that she has her passive, it's been a couple patches, she definitely is deserving of the S tier. They're just all three very, very powerful in PvP. Sakura has the immediate stun with the defense down. Milim has a group AoE stun, well, root, and then high damage. And Hibiscus does healing as well as AoE damage, and is just overall very, very good. For fire, we have Winter Cherry, Anathria, and Hydra of Flames. All three are very, very powerful for fire. The most important one here is Winter Cherry. She's your defensive and offensive for PvP. She does damage, but she also gives you effectively a rigidity as a passive for things like Top League. Anathria has that execute damage, and if for whatever reason it doesn't kill, it also reduces their healing. As you know, there's a lot of tanks going around. And Hydra of Flames allows certain builds like Berserker to actually compete at this tier. As far as water, we have Blue Rose, Gardenia, and Ikoria. So all three are very, very powerful. It's hard to say which one's the most important. I really lean towards Blue Rose. Just what she brings offensively and defensively. Both in game modes where you can use fairies and in game modes that you cannot just have passives. Second, Ikoria is mainly for those tank builds, and Gardenia is just a general good one to have. It gives you that % attack and defense bonus, which is always powerful. As far as water, we have Almond Blossom. I like to call her Almond Butter. Elderis. Almond Blossom, just generally good. And then Elderis has that anti-dodge and poison effect, which are very good in game modes where you have fairy actives. As far as things like Top League, she's not the best, but in game modes where you can use summons, she's one of the best, just for turning off dodges. Then for Earth, we have Tulip and Foxglove. Tulip is one of my favorites. I mean, the damage she brings as well as the passive swap, you kind of have to know what you're doing with her swap. You have to put her in your setup class. Well, you have to have her and then swap to the other, and then you get that boost and then go off with that boost. So like if you have something like sword priest, you would have priest do all your buffs, swap to sword, which has Tulip on it, and then she buffs you on top of the priest buff she already did, and then do your combo. Foxglove, primarily the passive is just really, really good. Crit rate, crit damage, just always good to have. Down here at the A tier, we have licorice, and mistletoe. People over on SEA, Southeast Asia, just got mistletoe. We in Global have had her for a while now. But both of them are definitely A tier. Licorice is very good at AoE PvP, such as Guild War, or if you're trying to fight for the top area of Shrine Peak, very good. Mistletoe comes in the same kind of area. What sets Mistletoe kind of apart is generally with almost every fairy skill, you can use a dodge to get through it, where Mistletoe, if you try to dodge through her, she specifically stuns people that try to dodge through her. Down here, Exoria for the A tier. This is specifically, a lot of people mess up with using her. They just use her at the beginning of a fight. That's a no-no. You want to use her when you're already low to kind of bring yourself back up and increase your burst at that point that they're not expecting. The two water, these two are really like sisters. Hydra and Lotus, they're really similar. The one on the left, Hydra, does defense up and stun, where Lotus does silence, which it doesn't actually say it does. It says it pulls them in, very similar to like Balloon Flower, but it doesn't work the same way. Hers actually makes them unable to use skills while they're being pulled in, where with Balloon Flower you can. And then also reduces their movement speed by 80%. Very, very powerful. On to Wind, we have Balloon Flower, which the trade-off is Balloon Flower does the pull in and defense down, which is super important for trying to take out these tanky characters, especially pulling them together so you can do some tricky things like Wind Chaser, AoE, AoE, AoE. Then we have Hyacinth. Big thing for him is his cooldown reduction, especially on top of Wind's already natural cooldown reduction, especially for classes like Wind Chaser or Marksman in PvP. Last but not least, we have Primrose. It is awesome to see a Gen 1 fairy up here all the way in the A tier. She does a monstrous amount of damage for being a Gen 1 fairy. Stun, reduce damage taken, just everything you want in a PvP fairy. Down here, B tier, Laurel. All he does is damage, but he does a good amount of damage. That's why he's up here in the B tier, especially being a holy. He's generally better than regular damage fairies, such as down here with Camellia. Rimuru is a great support fairy. If you don't have the most damage, if you're punching up a large amount and you're in a 3v3 or Guild War, things like this, Rimuru is very nice for stripping their buffs, allowing your team to actually win the fight. Not great if you yourself are the damage dealer, but it's a great support character. Diablo and Rose, 1A, 1B. With Diablo being more single target, Rose being more AoE. Lavender got nerfed. He's still pretty good. He used to be A, maybe S tier. Now he is a solid B tier water fairy, which, as you see, he's even lower than a Gen 2 water fairy. Viola, she is very interesting for having basic attack effects, slowing people, and then once you hit a certain amount of stacks, it slows them even more. The problem is you're not staying in a class long enough to get that basic attack effect. Then we have Dandelion, one of the coolest fairies in the game, except it's always going to be either wind effect or holy effect, because it's based off of which one you used before, and you're either going full wind or you're going wind plus one holy to get that extra effect. Then we have What Incarnation, huge AoE, especially if you have the full earth to get the passive effect. Then she's also going to do like a poison damage over time and give you a bunch of speed. It's going to be very fun for group PvP, as I said, Guild War, Shrine Peak, things like this. Down here at the C tier, these two fairies are made for PvE, but I mean, just their raw damage, they're a C and not a D. You can kind of say the same thing for Chestnut Rose and Camellia. Their raw damage put them in C, even though they mostly only do damage. Chestnut Rose does more, but only in PvE. We're not really worried about that in PvP. And then down here for Earth, Marigold and Daisy. Marigold does a slow and decent damage. Daisy does damage, and then if they hit someone else, they take more damage. But taunt doesn't really work great in PvP, so because it's not a general taunt like you're used to in other games, it's just if you hit someone else, you take damage. The amount of damage is not very substantial, so she's down here. And then Candok down here in the D tier. She heals multiple people, but the amount she heals is pretty low unless you have a massive amount of healing effect. But in that case, just anything is good, right? Let me know what you guys think down below. Until next time, guys.